like to address a couple of issues that have come to me in the form of various comments from those that either enjoy the things that I say or disagree with me vehemently. I will repeat a few things and perhaps shed light on a few others. First thing I want to talk about is the belief in the Messiah. This is something that we Jews are obligated to do. We're supposed to expect the Messiah to come at any moment. Who is the Messiah? Truth is, I don't know. Yes, the Lubavitcher Rebbe could possibly still be the Messiah, even though he's deceased, very simply because, according to the Talmud, in not just one place, but in two different places, the Messiah can be from those that are deceased. That is not the main element of the belief in Messiah. Who the Messiah is not our job. Our job is to believe that Messiah can be coming, and also to try to get the world to be the kind of world for the Messiah. In other words, we have to create a world of compassion and good. But compassion and good does not mean feeling compassion for people who are hateful and or killers. The so-called poor Palestinians divert their energies and resources in teaching children to blow themselves up to kill other people. That is not compassion when you show compassion for them. Having compassion for the wicked and for the cruel creates cruelty for those who deserve compassion. Those who have compassion for the Arabs in Gaza and Samaria hate the Jews who live in the rest of Israel. That is the real fact of the matter. There are some people who mistakenly have compassion for them, and I don't fault them, but there are people who ideologically, as a result of their compassion for the downtrodden, speak against the Israeli state, the Jewish state, as if it was some kind of tyrannical regime. I lived in Israel for 4 years. I visit there quite often. It's just a big fat lie. Israel has tremendous diversity, allows freedom of religion and freedom of expression, as well as freedom to vote for whomever you choose. There are more parties in Israel than there are in the United States or in other places that have representation. There are Arabs who sit in the Knesset who openly try to campaign for the destruction of Israel. And that's something that you don't have in the United States. You don't have a representative openly stating that he wishes the destruction of this country. So Israel allows for tremendous diversity, has freedom of religion, freedom of expression. What are we accused of? What is Israel accused of? Of occupying other people's territory. It's not other people's territory. There was never such a country called Palestine. Palestine never existed. It was controlled by either Egypt or the Turks or the Jordanians, and the results were from a war of life and death. And when you're in a war of life and death, you don't just go ahead and give back the territory so that they can try again. And anybody who doesn't realize that just has to look at the headlines every day. Every day, Israel is bombarded from Gaza and from other places by Arabs, even though Israel has ceded over 95% of the territories it captured in 1967. Land for peace is a failure. It will never work. And the reason for that is that Islam hates Jews. And for all you Christians out there, Islam also hates Christians. For those who want to understand the Bible and try to determine from the Bible what exactly is happening today, I want you to know that Maimonides says that this is a futile effort. And the reason for that is that we really don't know from where to draw the line. I know that there is a traditional dating system called the Seder Olam by Rabbi Yossi of the Mishnah. And Rabbi Yossi's system, the Seder Olam, is a wonderful compendium of organizing the dates from creation. However, in the course of time, we know that there are difficulties, both biblical difficulties, internal biblical difficulties, as well as historical difficulties with the Seder Olam. It is for this reason that it is impossible to establish the dates that we have in the various prophets, books of the prophets. We don't know from when to fix a particular prophecy, what exactly the prophecy is referring to. Even if we were to take a literal approach to every word of the prophecy, including Daniel, there is no way that we can determine what exactly is the date that he's referring to. And therefore, Rambam says in the 12th chapter of the Laws of Kings, Tipach rucham shel choshvei kitzin, those that try to figure out when the Messiah is supposed to come, when the end will come, should have their bubble burst, and not in a very flattering way. And the reason for that is that there is no way that we can determine exactly what they're referring to. The ideas are cryptic. We will not know what they were referring to till after the Messiah comes. These things will not lead us anywhere. And therefore, I go back to the original concept of the Messiah. Who the Messiah is not important, and when he's coming is not important. The most important thing is our own personal conduct and our own personal beliefs and our own personal ways of behaving. We have to create a world that is compassionate and kind, but not a world that is stupid, not a world that is lulled by nice words, cutesy phrases, which has no substance behind it. Tolerance does not mean acceptance of evil. Radical Islam is evil. Islam by itself can be a great force for good, and to a great degree has moderated the lives of many hundreds of millions of people. But when you have a cleric that gets up and suggests that killing 330,000 Americans in an hour is a great deed, and that a terrorist is one who fears Allah, guess what? Anyone who kills that imam, in my opinion, fears God, because such a person who delights in the death of hundreds of thousands of people is not a spiritual leader. He is a terrorist, and he is evil, and has to be opposed and destroyed. Ultimately, the Messiah comes and will bring peace to the world. Peace to the world does not mean death and destruction. Peace to the world requires truth. And truth, my friends, is not something that is dictated by the point of a gun. There is no objective truth that people can agree with until it can be validated in fact. In fact, that can be demonstrated with the presence of the Creator. Until you can demonstrate the presence of the Creator, all you're doing is imposing your will and your own fears upon others. The coming of the Messiah will bring a pursuit of truth, and that pursuit of truth will bring mankind to realizing that there is one Creator who created everything, and that all the wondrous science that we have experienced and we have learned and we continue to learn are products of the wisdom of this Creator. And that will be the contribution of Messiah, who will let us understand the wisdom of this Creator. Such is my belief that I share with you. It is the general belief that is important. Our deeds are even more important. Our deeds shall be good, our deeds shall be gracious and compassionate, but we shall not be stupid and allow for evil to dwell in our midst.